Have you ever had one of those nights where you just toss and turn and no matter what you do, you just can't sleep? Now imagine that, but every night for 24 years. You would probably be a tad on the grumpy side, I would think. Well, this is what today's episode Sleepless is all about. Premiering October 7th, 1994, Sleepless follows Agent Mulder along with a new partner, some guy named Alex Krycek? I don't know. He probably won't be around long anyways. As they track down a Vietnam vet who can murder simply by projecting his own thoughts into other people's minds. The episode begins in the swankiest city in the world, New York City. Well, it used to be anyways, it's kind of a garbage dump now. A Dr. Grissom is having a little nap on the couch while a report on the TV says the Dow stock market is down despite the TV itself showing that it's up.
Well, Denver stock prices fell for the third consecutive session today amid continued worries about the prospect of higher...
But what's this? Looks like someone is cooking up some steamed hams. Well, actually, it turns out that it's just the Aurora Borealis.
Seymour! The house is on fire!
No, Mother, it's just the Northern Lights.
Dr. Grissom calls the fire department in response.
Are you at 700 East 56th Street?
Yes, apartment 606. For God's sakes, hurry!
Fire units are...
But the dispatcher seems to already know, telling me she may have something to do with it. Grissom grabs a fire extinguisher, and then his stunt double takes over to try and combat the flames. Firefighters arrive on the scene, but I would be worried, because they just walked by Death himself. The firefighters make it to Grissom's apartment, but this must be some kind of elaborate ruse because there was no fire at all.
Nothing here.
At Mulder's apartment, someone leaves behind a newspaper with a tape inside, and I'm hoping it isn't another one of Mulder's extreme mixtapes. I do love his mom jeans and pink tucked-in dad shirt though. Inside the paper is an article on the doctor who seemingly died from both fire and nothing at the same time. Mulder plays the tape and it turns out to be the 911 call Grissom made before his death.
Sunshine, lollipops, and...
Alright, so that wasn't the real tape.
911 operator, police emergency.
This is Dr. Saul Grissom. There's a fire outside my apartment. I'm trapped.
Are you at 700 East 56th Street?
Mulder wants to take a closer look at his death because despite what was on the tape, there was no mention of a fire anywhere in the article. Skinner is going to think over whether he'll allow Mulder to investigate the matter, but in the meantime, it's back to the basement to listen to the wiretaps.
Waiting here like some stupid bimbo who ain't got...
It looks like this guy's doing well. Last time we saw him, he nearly died after getting freaky with a gender-bending alien.
Krycek. Alex Krycek.
Skinner didn't say anything about taking on a partner.
Oh, I guess this is a completely different character? Well, excuse me for thinking actors in this show would be playing the same characters. This is like the multiverse in Marvel, except it's not terrible. Mulder is clearly apprehensive of having a new partner, but Krycek here was the one who opened the case first, so Mulder will have to play nice.
Listen, I appreciate the show and tell, and I don't want you to take this personally, but I work alone.
I don't remember him acting this way when Scully was thrust upon him. I mean, she is adorable, and she did get undressed on their first case together, so Krycek has a lot to live up to. Better start waxing now. Reluctantly, however, Mulder does have to play nice if he indeed wants to investigate this case. Scully is teaching one of her classes when she gets a call from George Hale, who we all know is just Mulder being sneaky.
I was hoping you could tell me.
I can't do it today. My last class isn't over until 4:30.
She just finishes teaching a class and has to fly down so she can perform an autopsy for Mulder. Does this woman ever get a second to rest? Mulder is at the Sleep Disorder Center speaking to one of the doctors about Grissom's work.
How many other kinds of sleep disorder did he treat?
There are 38 different dysomnias and parasomnias.
Does parasomnia include ghosts? Because it sounds kinda spooky. Krycek finally arrives and he's kind of annoyed at Mulder who just left without him. Mulder really couldn't care though because Krycek isn't a short redhead.
Yeah.
Dr. Grissom didn't die from cardiac arrest.
What is it?
I think you should come back up here and take a look for yourself.
He isn't going alone though, as Krycek was the one who signed out the car. They arrive and uh-oh, looks like trouble in paradise as Scully looks a tad jealous of Mulder's new partner.
Good to meet you.
too.
These two are the biggest jerks to this guy, who I'm sure will never become a thorn in their side. Scully found no burns on the doctor's body, but damage inside that could only be caused by extreme heat.
What?
As if his body believed that it was burning.
Well, it's 2023. You can be anything you want if you just put your mind to it, even if it's being engulfed in flames. We meet a guy named Henry who looks a lot like the guys my dad would call friend when I grew up.
You left the door open, Willie.
Preacher?
Not a good idea leaving your door open in this neighborhood. You never know who's gonna drop by.
And this is also why you never say Tony Todd 5 times in a mirror. Augustus Cole is the mystery man and a Vietnam vet who, alongside Henry here, committed some atrocious acts. Now, we did see Cole before Grissom died, so I'm willing to wager things won't end well for Henry either.
It's all over now.
Next day at the FBI, Mulder and Krychek are going over Henry's death, and strangely enough, there are 43 small hemorrhages that were found inside the body, but nothing external that could have caused them. One of the pictures of Henry's body reveals a scar on the base of his neck, and just by happenstance, it turns out Henry was stationed at the same base Grissom was back in 1968. With Henry dead though, there's only one person left alive that can lead them to what's going on, and that happens to be Cole. Mulder and Krychek make it to a medical facility where Cole is apparently being held, but when they open up a door to his room, he's nowhere to be found. Even though we already know that, as we've seen him in the vicinity of 2 deaths already.
You discharged him 2 days ago.
Most certainly did not. Don't you think I'd remember if I did?
If his memory is anything like mine, we'll give him a pass on this one. Mulder then gets a phone call from that same mysterious man from the host.
I've obtained information that might shed some light on your current work, but you must exercise discretion when we meet. If anyone follows you, I won't be there.
Mulder is told to meet him at what looks to be an abandoned arena of some kind. And here we finally meet our mystery man, Creighton Duke, hot off his one-on-one with a stupid-looking Jason Voorhees.
Son of a bitch, you remember me?
Alright, we really don't know his actual name, but he goes by X. He hands Mulder an envelope and explains Grissom was performing experiments to eliminate sleep, making more aggressive and deadly soldiers in the process. Cole and Henry were both part of this experiment, but there was one other who was claimed to have died, but is still alive and well.
The man we both knew paid for that information with his life. A sacrifice I'm not willing to make.
X here isn't quite the risk taker that Deep Throat was. Mulder picks up Krychek, who's a little suspect of where he's been, but no time for that. Cole has been spotted having just robbed a nearby drugstore and is hiding out in a motel around the corner.
Cole didn't steal dime one from that drugstore. Just a bunch of bills.
Mulder and Krychek run towards the gunfire, but it looks as though the two officers shot each other and there's no sign of Cole anywhere. Scully then writes up a report on documents Mulder sent her, and all we need to know is Grissom basically made it so these men don't need to sleep anymore. Or couldn't, even if they wanted to. Mulder calls Scully and here we go. He tells her he thinks Cole is killing these men by projecting his consciousness into their head.
And what if by existing consciously in the unconscious world, he's developed the ability to externalize his dreams and effectively alter reality?
I love her brief, confused pause here. Krychek arrives because they need to get going, but do I detect a hint of jealousy from Scully? Again?
Sounds like your new partner's working out.
Yeah, he's alright, but he's a lot more open to extreme possibilities
than I was.
Mulder and Krychek stop by at a local diner, where they find Salvatore, the last of the men who were experimented on, well, not counting Cole, that is. He tells them it felt like they were living 2 lives. They never had to sleep and perform patrols all hours of the night. And with the use of pills containing serotonin, they never needed to rest. That is, until the entire unit decided to go AWOL. They took no orders and killed anyone and everyone.
We suspect Augustus Cole may be behind the murders of William Grissom.
You mean Preacher? Saying that one day we were gonna have to pay for what we were doing.
Oh, wow, what a drag.
Grissom wasn't the only doctor responsible for what was done to these men. Dr. Girardi, who we're just now being introduced to, is also a culprit in this act.
Mulder.
I think I found the Francis Girardi you're looking for. He's a professor of neurosurgery at Harvard.
Do you have his number in Boston?
Looks like they won't have to look hard for this Dr. Girardi though, as he just so happens to be coming into town via the train for Grissom's funeral. Mulder and Krychek race to the train station with a photo of the doctor that was printed up by Scully. But why does Mulder take the photo back from Krychek? What happened to his supposed photographic memory?
I'm cursed with photographic memory.
Mulder finds the doctor coming through the crowd, but before he can get to him, Cole does what he does best.
Federal agent! Drop your weapon! Drop it!
Except Girardi was never there. Either was Cole. Mulder was just shouting and waving his gun like a lunatic at nothing. Mulder has security go over the camera footage minute by minute, while Krychek asks Mulder to explain just what exactly is going on.
I think that Cole possesses the psychic ability to manipulate sounds and images to generate illusions that are so convincing they can kill.
Security motions the agents over as they do spot a strange car in a restricted area that hadn't been there just 5 minutes prior. And it looks like the Doc and Cole were actually there after all, although I don't think Cole has the best intentions.
And he who kills a man shall be put to death.
Tony Todd could read a cookbook and it would sound like the greatest epic ever. The agents arrive just in time to hear the screams from the doctor in the distance. They find a pool of blood and somehow the doctor isn't dead? It looks though, unlike all the other victims, the doctor has some actual external wounds. Oh yeah, I'm sure that pole we just focused in on won't be used in any way. Mulder corners Cole, but I don't think he's looking to escape. Cole tells Mulder to shoot him, but unlike the police in the episode The Erlenmeyer Flask, Mulder generally doesn't shoot unarmed men. Krychek arrives with his weapon raised to Cole, thinking Cole has a gun, but unfortunately it's actually just a Bible.
No!
Cole gets what he finally wants, which is rest, and Krychek is all shook up because he swears he saw a gun. Scully is with Mulder and she tells him someone went through her computer and removed every trace of every report from this case.
Do you know where he got this?
Not yet, but he got it, which means he's either found another source or another source has found him.
Oh, I knew that Krychek was up to no good, and not because I've seen these episodes 400 times either.
What about Scully?
Reassigning them to other sections seems only to have strengthened their determination. Scully's a problem, a much larger problem than you described.
I really hope something awful doesn't happen to Scully in the very next episode. Sleepless is a solid episode that is kind of a hybrid standalone and mythology episode. You have this sleep-deprived Cole going around murdering people with his psychic ability, along with the screen debuts of both X and introduction of Krychek. A killer that is able to project their subconscious into someone else's mind to make them believe they're being killed by something that isn't there is quite interesting, but why was Cole the only one that seemed to develop this ability? Also, Mulder and Scully treating Krychek like he's a piece of trash, yeah, that always makes me laugh. The episode currently sits at a 7.7 on IMDb, and I think the episode is a solid 7 myself. This episode was the first for writer Howard Gordon to do on his own, without writing partner Alex Gansa. And it's funny because it's also his favorite episode out of all of the season 2 episodes. Who would have thought that the writer of the episode would also claim that it's his favorite? This episode marked the first time we get to see the character X, who has taken over the role of Deep Throat. Though he's played by Stephen Williams, this originally wasn't the case. In a now alternate scene where Mulder meets X, the character is actually played by actress Natalia Nogulich. The character of X was originally intended to be a woman, but she was ultimately replaced because they didn't feel as though she had much chemistry with the rest of the cast. They had to do reshoots replacing her with Williams, which was seen as kind of a challenge because they had to line up the close-up shots to match as closely as possible to the ones already taken of Mulder. But I'm glad they ultimately went with Steven because I just couldn't imagine Natalia pulling it off, honestly. I've seen her in other things and she doesn't have the same commanding presence that Steven carries. Nicholas Lee makes his return to the series, but this time as the fan favorite Alex Krycek. He does well in the episode as the unassuming Krycek, who seems to be doing whatever he can to gain Mulder's approval, but by the end we come to find out his role is much more sinister than we first believed. From here on out, he really becomes entrenched in Mulder's search for the truth. Augustus Cole was played by the criminally underrated Tony Todd. Best known for his role in the film Candyman, Tony Todd has a unique ability to elevate just about any project that he's on. Like Brad Dourif in the episode Beyond the Sea, Tony Todd has a charisma and presence that most guest stars we've seen so far just don't have. When you have someone like Tony on set, he really does just turn things up to the next level. You can't be slouching when you've got Tony Todd on set. Except for maybe this guy, but he hadn't slept in 24 years, so I'll let it pass. Like I mentioned, he's best known for playing Candyman, but he's played so many various roles in movies and TV shows because he's just that damn good. He may have been pigeonholed a bit in the horror genre, but it's hard not to when you see the man and hear him speak. He doesn't need a silly mask to make himself seem scary, he just is. He does kind of have another connection to the X-Files, but I'm going to be saving that for another video. Sleepless is a good episode with a great guest star. I definitely recommend this one for those that have not seen it. Check back soon though, as next up in our look at the X-Files is one of the most impactful episodes of the series yet, Dwayne Barry. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please think about subscribing. Please like the video because the YouTube algorithm is a pain in the ass. And let me know down in the comments your thoughts on Sleepless. Thank you all for watching, it really means a lot to me, and stay spooky.
A military experiment gone wrong.
You killed those people with telepathic images?
Now 2 FBI agents must stop a relentless killer.
The man hasn't slept in 24 years.
Before their own government stops them.
The truth is still out there, but it's never been more dangerous.
The X-Files, Friday at 9, 8 Central.